Good morning and welcome to the 2019 Recharge with Milk Ontario Men's Tankard, brought to you by Curl On and Title Sports Live. We are at the Woolwich Memorial Centre in Elmira, Ontario. My name's Danielle Inglis and I'm joined here this morning by my co-host and MC of the Grand Slam, Pete Stetsky. Our feature sheet this morning is a battle of the Royal Canadian Curling Club with Team Rob Retchless taking on Team Greg Balsdon. But before we get underway this morning, let's meet the teams. Throwing the skip rocks for Team Balsdon is Greg Balsdon, with third Chris Gardner, second Brad Kidd, and lead Andrew Denny Petch. And for Team Retchless, we have skip Rob Retchless, third Alex Champ, second Terry Arnold, and lead Scott Clinton. We'll catch you up on how these teams did in their first game last night. So big win for Team Retchless over the arguably one of the top teams here, Team Retchless beating Team Epping 7-3 last night. And for Team Balsdon, they were having a close game against Team Ferris, but they dropped a 7-5 loss to them. Also in the field last night, we had Team McDonald with a 7-3 win over Team Dow. Team Thomas with a commanding 9-2 lead over Team Bice. And then on our feature sheet from last night's game, Team Howard with a 5-4 win over Team Durrell. So Pete, this morning's matchup, what do you expect to see out here?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Team Retchless can back up that huge win they had last night, knocking off probably the favorite in Team Epping. And then for Balsdon, they're looking to bounce back after a tough loss last night. They need to get a win today. So be interesting to see who can come out and gain an advantage early. We saw last night the ice was a little straight. Points are harder to come by than they normally are in the arena ice. So I would expect a fairly tight game early as teams adjust.
Right. Like you mentioned, we often think of arena ice as having more curl, but we're not seeing that huge swing that is commonly associated with the arena ice, and rather more like a curling club like ice surface. And mentioned earlier, they play each other at the club. So it's kind of familiar territory.
Yeah, it's interesting. I talked to Greg before the game. They have not played each other on tour this year, but I mean, Greg's only played 18 games, right? So he hasn't played anybody. And Retchless is they've only played 29 games, but they do play Thursday nights in their little beer league at the Royal, so they are familiar with each other's game.
And we're seeing that a little more this year, where teams aren't going quite as hard, and due to the Olympic quadrennial. Would you like to speak to how teams are approaching their seasons nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, the 1 year that you sort of can take off is the first year of the quadrennial. Like, even a team, our reigning Olympic gold medalist from Sweden, Team Hasselborg, has taken a lighter schedule this year. Team Jennifer Jones has scaled back a little bit because the points don't count towards qualifying for the trials. So teams, they can take a little more relaxed approach. A lot of the teams are new this year. They have the opportunity to play, and it's almost a year where you can figure out if you like your new team, like Team Anderson, who's been amazing, or you could be like Team Flaxey. They didn't have their best year, and they might be looking to change. So it's an interesting year anytime the new quadrennial rolls around.
And seeing all the new teams that form, we're about to get underway on our feature sheet. We have appears to be Team Balsdon who grabbed the hammer this game.
Yeah, both teams covered the pin, which just a matter of who got a bigger piece of it. We can't tell from up here, but it appears to be Greg.
We'll see whoever jumps in the hack first. And these teams, again, all played last night, played this morning. The women are coming to join the party today. Following this game, they'll have their pre-competition practice where they have the opportunity to throw for 10 minutes on each sheet. And then following that, they'll start play tonight. But it will be, so it's a busy time here at the Woolwich Memorial Centre in Elmira. And we do have some people who grabbed their coffee and are coming out to watch this morning on this blisteringly cold day.
Yeah, you know what? I hit my fourth Starbucks this morning before I found one that was open. I was a little frustrated, but I do have another coffee in front of me to help me get through the day here. Retchless is called a center guard to start the game, indicating they're going to try to be a little aggressive. Greg doesn't mind that. Greg's a very aggressive player himself.
And the lead for Team Retchless, Scott Clinton.
Greg is going to have his lead. Andrew Denny Petch, play the intern, come around here.
Also known as my teammate on Wednesday nights.
Really?
He is. He's a good guy. Works for Curl On doing the media and marketing. He's a communications manager, and he was the mixed provincial champion back in 2016 with skip Mike McLean, Britt O'Neill, and Karen Sagal.
Really? Came up a little short there. Good opportunity here for Retchless to get one in behind some staggered guards.
And Scott Clinton, he is a biomedical technologist at London Health Science Centre.
Which means he's pretty smart.
Absolutely. He's been curling for 16 years. And he's, back in 2017, he was in the mixed provincial finalist. And he's also played at the Travelers Curling Club Championship back in 2017. And looking good. This is a spot where we've seen it takes a while to move, but once it gets to the center line, you can see how hard it finishes. And it does get mostly buried.
Yeah, Greg could choose to remove this stone, but instead he's just going to draw down to it. Greg basically took the year off. He only played 3 events. 2 of them were qualifiers to try to get in the provincials. He won his spot at Lee's side, lost a semifinalist in the RCMP qualifier, and he has a semifinal appearance in Ghana and Akwe, but I think there are only 8 teams there, so basically everybody made the semis. There's a big mistake. Cannot afford to be heavy there.
And it's still early in the week. So, and we have a restart here. Now, the way this actually works is as long as the rock doesn't go past the back line, you can do that about face like Terry Arnold just did, and you can see he kind of threw the rock backwards, even though his body went forwards. The rock didn't go past the back line.
It takes a lot of talent to do that. That's like the Tiger Woods reset in golf there.
So Terry Arnold going to refocus and throw.
So he's got an opportunity to draw in around the guards. Lie 2. Terry's dad has played in this event quite a few times. I believe it's his dad, who now works for the World Curling Federation, Scott Arnold. I saw him last over at the Olympics.
And this rock is hanging out. Good weight, but it is going to leave a double. It's about edge on edge, so it's not a gimme double by any means. And we have Brad Kidd. He was one of his career highlights. Not only the recent ones, but it's fun looking back at the past ones. He was the 2002 Bantam Mixed Champion, and then continued that along in 2011 as the Ontario Mixed Champion with skip Chris Gardner. And this is he's been at 9 Tankards, Ontario Tankards.
They opted not to play the double there. They went with just a soft little backline weight shot and over curled, and now there's another real good opportunity here. See if Mr. Arnold can make the adjustment.
Terry is a broadcast professional. Curls quite a bit in his club and is a 3-time Westmount Golf and Country Club champion. and also was a provincial finalist at the 2010 Ontario Mixed.
A lot of mixed action going on today, right?
There is.
They might be lost out there without the women. You know?
Though I guess I better say his one glowing accomplishment as well, that he was the 2009 junior men's provincial champion.
So he's got that going for him.
Also, while we're talking about Brad, curled with Brad back in mixed about 10 years ago, and he's a great player to play with. He's very calm and focused, not to mention a great shooter.
They're going to try the double peel here. Real skinny off the top yellow. And well done to help clean it up. Retchless still has a chance to apply some pressure here early in the first end. What a great name if you're an athlete, eh? Champ?
Champ, Alex Champ, absolutely.
What has Mr. Champ been a champion at? Talk to me.
Well, he has been a U Sports finalist this year, an OUA silver medalist this year. And he was the Royal Canadian Curling Club Men's Invitational champion back in 2017.
How many CTRS points did he get for that?
might go with the big goose egg, but you know, it's good on the resume. But he's been to several provincial championships throughout his life, but what's really neat is that he's the co-founder and skip of the Ryerson Rams team.
Nice.
And curling's becoming huge in universities and colleges now with the U Sports Championship and the CCAA Championships.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Back when I was in university many years ago, it only went as far as Ontario. And those of us that played competitive on the men's or ladies, especially the men's, we didn't give it a lot of respect. We basically treated it as a party spiel. But now you can go on and go to the World Championships. It's great to have those options when you're at school.
Got a hit coming from Chris Gardner. They're working on this, trying to avoid the rock.
Nice little rub
but they
there.
do. Actually, that worked out nicely. It punched it behind the guard further and spread the rocks out. So
yeah, big mistake there by Champ, and a lucky little tick there, like you said. But it's a great setup now for Balsdon to score multiple points here.
So third, Alex Champ with his second rock of the first end. They're looking for a hit. Little flop towards the center line. And they are going to get the hit, but they roll out. They'll sit around, but again, great position for Balsdon to get their rocks spread out and pick up a deuce.
Conservative call here by Greg. They could draw around the center guard. He's opting to draw open to the backing. More conservative call, but this the way the draws aren't really diving in around this guard, this is probably the better play.
Yeah, safe too. These teams, as we mentioned earlier, it's early in the week. These teams aren't fully aware of what the ice is doing right now, so this shot has more tolerance.
This one's hooking out there pretty good. He's got a soft handle. This is the type of handle, if you were playing on aggressive arena ice, you could get yourself in some trouble.
Yeah, and that was, of course, Chris Gardner, who was former mixed champion as well back in.
I got to start signing up for the mixed.
You do.
Problem is I can't get two girls to play with me, so it's tough.
Any takers, ladies out there? Now we're coming down to Skipper's Rock. Skip Rob Retchless. He's the program director for IBM Business Analytics. He has several times been at Ontario Provincial Champions, such as the Tankard, Silver Tankard, and Mixed Provincial again.
See?
And he actually started his curling career in Quebec, and he played juniors there. He got the hit, avoided all the jams at the back, rolled right under.
It's a pretty good roll.
Well, what's great about this, too, is the fact that now going out to the wings isn't so much of an option because they've cut down that scoring area. So now we are seeing them try the draw behind. Again, tricky little spot of ice here. They've got what seems to be a good amount of ice. What we saw in yesterday's game, too, is that they were giving what they thought was good ice, and you could see them tightening up the broom throughout the game. The ice did straighten up a little bit, but they realized they could afford to give quite a bit less ice.
Yeah, I talked to Team Howard this morning about the ice last night because obviously they were on this sheet, and they found with any hits, as soon as they laid the brush down, not only did they straighten out, they might even went back a little bit. So the message there is throw it to your sweepers.
Yeah. And, well, that's what we saw, the sweepers praying a lot yesterday, and, again, not a great position when you're a sweeper. And this rock is just riding the 4-foot line.
This is a pretty big mistake. I don't know if he meant to throw it back by this yellow, but if you do, you're basically forcing Team Retchless to throw a freeze, and if they make it, they're forcing you to one or they're stealing one. The better call there would have been just to loop one around the guard and lie two.
Well, and you could see there, too, regardless of whether they're throwing the freeze or trying to come around, either way, it was too much ice. It just didn't curl up, even when it stopped right behind the back line.
Yeah, it didn't help. He was 10 feet heavy.
No.
Tough start for Greg, but he will bounce back. He has as much talent, I think, as anybody in the field that aren't on our two favorite teams, you know, Epping and Howard. He's a past champion of the event in 2014, and really a fearless player. Like we mentioned, he took the year off. It had to kill him to take the year off because he used to play about 200 games a year. This guy's crazy.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you just hit that point when you hit burnout and you just need a timeout.
Yeah, it happened to me about 15 years ago.
Now you come back as super fifth and make an appearance every once in a while.
Yeah. Big in the family bonspiel at the cricket club. Big shot here.
The sweeper again. This spot is just straighter until it hits the center line. They're working it, trying to get some curl. They also need this for weight. It will come up short. So it will be a draw for two for Team Balsdon. And Greg, well, will be thrilled to know this about his accomplishments.
Let me guess, he won the mixed.
He won the mixed. He had back in 2013 and 2014 with Corey Hagestad, and they were actually the Canadian champions in 2013. But outside of mixed, he's had 12 provincial appearances at the men's and was the champion head to the Brier in 2014.
He's going to have to make a little bit of an adjustment here. He's heavy on his first, but now this is a brand new path. They're taking an extra 2.5 feet here.
And
They're
bringing
working
out
it
Chris.
really hard.
Just need a piece of the 4-foot.
And they got it there.
They'll get it. So that is a two-spot for Team Balsdon to kick off scoring here in the first end.
Greg's looking up, shaking his head. I don't think he's too happy with his first rock still. But nevertheless, he gets two up on the board.
Yeah, sometimes it's not pretty, but you get the job done. We've got over on the other sheets, a couple are still finishing the first end, but we have Team Bice with the 1-0 lead over Team Dow. And many rocks in play on the other sheets. This is one of the prime differences, Pete, that I see between the men and the women is what they do with their first end or first two ends. Tend to see the men go more aggressive than the women.
Yeah, I mean, why is that? Like, I know from a men's standpoint why they do it, but you would have way better insight as to why the women play a little more conservative. Is it just to feel out the ice a little bit, or what's your story?
Well, I actually like going aggressive, so my story is more rocks in play, to be honest. But
yeah, good for you.
But honestly, yeah, I feel a lot of the time it's banking for women, it's banking time is part of it, feeling it out if you're not quite sure what the rocks and the ice are going to do, and just gaining that confidence. And again, we're starting off our Team Retchless wanting a corner guard here. Sweeper's backing right off it.
Did stop in time.
Team Balsdon asking for a center line guard. Some people may be wondering, well, why would you throw a center line guard when your rock is in the back of the house?
He just wants to get the play to the middle. I mean, he doesn't. The only other shot really would be to go half around that corner guard, but Greg wants to play in the 4-foot here without the hammer, so this looks like a better rock from Andrew.
And excellent. I see Andrew kind of go, he's pretty hard on himself. That's what I've learned through playing with him on Wednesday nights. Unless it's made perfectly, he's not happy.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a great attitude to have out there, to constantly beat yourself up, but I mean, I do it when I golf, so.
Well, as long as you have your teammates to remind you that it's still good, and I know it'll come down to me and I'll remind him that it wasn't all that bad. He just takes things to heart. He doesn't like leaving his teammates having to pick up the pieces after his shots.
This is an interesting call going around the corner. Other option was obviously to draw around that center guard.
They do get it buried in behind the tee. So we'll sit second shot. Now they're the two options that Greg's looking at. You can either follow that down or come around.
Decided to follow it down. Seems to be moving pretty nicely out to the wings. Not as much to the center.
Yeah, once it gets to the center, you can see it run, and now it's really going hard off the line.
Again, not a lot of handle on this rock.
Brad's always thrown a little bit of a softer handle, so that
shot.
doesn't surprise me, and that is a beauty. But that'll actually bode well if the ice maintains its current curl.
Yeah, the teams that have played, like Epping, Howard, have played on more aggressive arena ice. They tend to throw a lot more positive handle. They might have to make some adjustments this week if the ice continues to be this way.
Again, we still have some curl on this ice. It's not like
Oh,
we
yeah,
don't.
absolutely.
But when you think of that arena ice and how much it curls, quite often you associate that with Broom being put in mid-12 or even further out to button, and not quite at that point yet. But nice curl inside out here, and a beautiful freeze by Terry Arnold.
They seem to have this shot down pretty nicely.
Now we'll see how it tracks here with them taking just a hair more ice, and you can see it runs for longer before it hits center. Oh, it's really diving here. Sweeper's having to work it. It looks like it's going to come up a hair light, just different path. It looks like he kicked out pretty similar, but different path and different result.
This is a very conservative call here. Don't know why you wouldn't want to play the back one.
I'm with you on this one. Especially because now, even if they do peel that one out. There's still that draw around the corner just as they were just trying to play. But like I said, conservative, you're opening up the middle, allowing it to be open for your Skip's last rock.
Yeah, conservative was a nice way to say it. So they execute the peel, but they actually, even in just grazing that yellow rock, they opened up that blue for Team Balsdon, just in case they ever need it. They'll be able to run that back now. Greg's going to just have Chris throw it around that blue rock in the top 12. Doesn't need to be frozen, just needs to be second shot, really.
Pretty exciting times for Chris as well. He's expecting. And with his partner, so he's about to start into a new phase in his life. But got a chance to talk to him about it at one of the provincial qualifiers, and he's quite excited. He's nervous, but quite excited. And his teammate Brad having 2 little ones back at home. And that's a great weight on that. It didn't get as buried as it would have liked, and you can see Rob calling for the hit and flop there, going to ignore the rock that's in the back 4, back 8 area.
Yeah, if they can get underneath here, now there's a little bit of pressure on Team Balsdon. They'll still be shot rock, but if the Retchless rink can lie second and third after this, Greg might have to look at that run back, short little run back.
They're picking this up right out of the hand.
Yeah, I think he broke his wrist on this one.
It's all over the top guard.
Insurance policy on the blue. That had no chance from the get-go there. He just got that one started.
Yeah, just where it curls so much in that spot too. It's a spot that you can't afford to.
See, you're nicer than I am. I'm just trying to tell the truth here. It wasn't his best.
We've all been there.
That really lets Greg off the hook, though. They're going to guard their second shot rock. I believe it's second shot. The one in front of the tee line.
And that looks pretty good. Over curled perhaps a hair, but still something for Team Retchless to deal with.
Yeah, the key to this shot here will be, 1, to throw it better than the last one, and 2, just weight control. Most of that rock's buried. As we saw last night, if you up your weight, it'll run on you here. So he needs to probably be somewhere in the ballpark of hack or board.
They're picking that up out of the hand. It looked like a bit of a better throw, but as soon as it hits the center line, it starts moving. A big scrub to try to get this past the guard. And it just kisses off.
Look at that. You could not do that.
Oh, geez. That couldn't pay him $1 million to do that again. And you can see it just barely touched the guard. Even so, that rock is still pretty fully
Yeah, that was
buried.
gross. Really gross.
Well, the good news for Team Retchless is that the whole left side of the sheet is open for a draw, which I bet Rob is thinking is going to be his out at the end of this.
Yeah, I think if this was the last rock of the end, Greg would probably try to block that path, but he can't do that now, because if he did, then Rob could just draw around it for shot rock. Epping.
And here we go. Greg Balsdon with his first in the second end. And
Greg's one. He doesn't hide his emotions at all. He'll tend to wear them on his sleeve.
That's why I love him. Another great guy in the sport.
He cracks me up.
Great line on this, going for weight, and it is looking good.
Nice touch there by Greg.
Yeah, beauty. Just too frozen at the top, so Rob's calling the freeze to the rock in the back of the rings. Going for a skipper's deuce on this one.
The beauty of this shot is he's probably going to have to play the same shot on his next one, so this is almost like a practice throw for him, provided that he's close.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. This is a bit of a newer spot on the ice for them to throw, so needing to get that draw weight. I mean, the teams do have 7 minutes to practice beforehand, but you don't see every spot on the ice with that.
I do believe this was their the turn they threw and the draw to the button, so I would expect this to be close.
This is cruising. The sweepers are backing off of it. Get a time on this one. It's about a 14.5. We had seen last night, Pete, that it was more like a 15-1, 15-2 to tee. And that pretty close, but just rubs off. I mean, it's the difference of throwing it there with a bit of sweeping and it will curl versus what we just saw.
Yeah, that's he only missed by a foot, but it's a pretty big foot. Team Balsdon now lies 2. They have the opportunity to draw and bite the 4 foot and lie 3. It would be very difficult for Retchless to score if this rock is put in the proper spot by Greg.
They would ideally like to keep this to the left-hand side of center. Notice, though, it's interesting how much less ice that Greg is taking from Rob. It's a bit of a difference in the way the players are throwing it this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw that last night for sure, especially with the lefty-righty situation. Greg tends with his intern to slide a little tight and sort of gear it back a little bit. This is one of the sweepers. They just have to make sure they don't oversweep, because if they sweep this too far, they can leave just a wide open hit, a pretty simple shot for one.
They'd like to see it open, but
they did.
Too deep.
Yeah, you just can't sweep that there. Like that's a huge mistake. You go from putting tons of pressure to just absolutely letting Team Retchless off the hook.
Still a shot against 3. We've seen here, Pete, though, when you up your weight a hair, it can run a bit straight, and it's caught. We saw it catch both Team Howard and Team Durrell last night a couple times. So big shot here from Skip Rob Retchless. Picking this up right out of the hand. It is curling. Good scrub here, but a nice calm weight, and that will be good for the single point for Team Retchless. But it will be Team Balsdon continuing their lead with 2-1 lead after 2 ends of play, and they will have the hammer going into N3. Now, let's take a quick look at the scores across the board here. We have Team McDonald, who is up 2-0 over Team Thomas.
That's a big game, because I think most people coming in would say these are the number 3 and 4 ranked teams in the field, and the winner of this can position themselves nicely for the playoffs. And
another big game out on the ice here for many different reasons, but mainly for Team Epping. They are down 2-0 to Team Durrell, and John is currently throwing his last rock, and he's throwing it against one of Team Durrell's counters. They are sweeping it here, hoping to pick up the single. Craig is sweeping it to Curl. And they do manage to pick up a single point, and they need a trail Team Durrell 2-1. Team Dow, Team Bice. Team Bice forced Team Dow to a single and is now 1-all after 2 ends. And then Team Howard 1-0 over Team Ferris. We're seeing a Team Ferris's rock come in, and it is going just a little deep, and it will be a steal of 1 for Team Howard. So Team Howard takes a 2-0 lead going into N3. Back on our feature sheet, of course, we just saw Team Retchless pick up a single point with a quiet weight hit. Team Balsdon had the opportunity to put tons of pressure on there and just missed their opportunity.
We got a great question here on Twitter from Daryl Preble. He wants to know if Brad used an actual bowl to cut his hair. I'm going to have to do some research at the 5th M break, Daryl, but we'll get back to you on that. That's a good question. People need to know. You know, maybe Daryl's looking to get that haircut himself.
True. Nice to hear from Daryl. It's been a little while, but he's been at the provincial championships several times himself.
Has he?
He has.
A little bit of a mistake here by Andrews. Is having trouble getting his rocks in front of the tee line, which if that continues, it'll be a long week for Team Balsdon. Provides the opportunity for Retchless to freeze here, but they're also a little bit heavy. We saw this a lot last night with the leads in the game, not putting their rocks in very good positions. You can feel free to tweet us. I'm at XL Purple Sweater.
And I'm at Inglis Danielle.
Could be any question about the game. Doesn't even have to be about the game. You know?
Yeah, try to throw a doozy out there to Pete. Get some trivia questions going. You're welcome. Just trying to keep us on our toes for this 9 a.m. game this morning. And a good-looking shot here. Keeping it above the tee.
Yeah, that would have been better on his first one. Still probably, what do you think, Danielle? Still a hair deep, right?
Yeah, I would have preferred that to be full 12 or full 4, but still, we'll take anything above the tee at this point.
Yeah.
Terry Arnold and his first. There, this rock is just running wide. See, appears to be a hair up, and it is just not coming close. This is in the end, it finishes nicely, but it sure takes its time.
Yeah, he had dead weight there on its own. A little less weight, it would have obviously broke more.
I think a little less weight, but I think with the skips, what they will pick up on eventually, and what we saw last night is just need to take that broom in. Yeah.
Yeah, the sweepers are just walking up and down the sheet today. I mean, I'm the worst sweeper in the world, but I mean, I could be out there right now and it'd be no different. This is another one. They're walking the rock down the ice.
I think sometimes what happens too is players expect that it's going to break more, just based on sure, a lot of these players do their research. They know about the rocks. They know these are brand new rocks from Canada Curling Stone. So they should be sharp off the bat and have great ice makers here. So they're expecting some good curl, though it doesn't always come right away. And I think just over brooming here.
Going to play the out turn freeze here. They should know this spot. They played it about 6 times in the first end.
And if you are coming in to watch the play here in Elmira. Got a snowstorm coming in, so please drive carefully. But currently it's clear.
That will answer a question that we have from Delvin today, from Sault Ste. Marie. Wanted to know about the weather. It's not going to be ideal, Delvin. If I was you, I'd stay up in the Soo and listen to this excellent broadcast.
Nice soft weight hit and roll in.
Still a nice situation, even though after this shot, Retchless is going to lie one. Greg's going to try to surround him with some blues here in front of the tee line.
So we've got a run here. Like to see this run and then pop out towards the rock on the center line. But speaking of run, this is just not bending.
That finished real hard to get to where it did. Ended up being a pretty good shot.
Yeah, beautiful. And what was great about that, too, is he threw some weight on it, but still, it's not a huge amount of weight. So he allowed it to bring the curl in. That'll probably be the key here this week. I know you see a lot of men's teams throwing more board weight even for an open hit, but definitely making sure that that hit weight is manageable with sweeping will be the key.
It's a big shot here. He's going to play a double. A lot of the teams might play just the in-turn freeze. It's a shot. It's high risk. If you miss it, now Greg will have the opportunity to draw around that guard again.
That rock will come up to nose. And again, with the big weight, it's basically where you throw it is where it's going to hit the rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's even when you know if your tendency is to out it a bit towards the broom, it'll run so straight. You might even take a little bit less ice to counteract that. It'll be Chris Gardner. And he even asked for a hair less ice on his rock, and he's looking for the draw right in behind the center line guard. You can weld one right to it or even just in front. That would be perfect. But again, the curl comes late, close to the hog line.
You know, at some point in time, someone's going to tighten up the ice here, right?
It's by about a foot or half a foot or so.
I mean, that weight is nice. He's got a soft handle, but that's, you know, still out in the open.
Well, that's the thing. It took a couple ends when we were watching last night for them to do it. I think it was about 3 ends before they really tightened up the ice. Even for hits, they were looking at putting the broom right on the edge of the rock with board weight. Finally realizing that at the beginning of the game, they were giving about a foot, just over a foot of ice, and realizing that this is not how we're going to make shots. So I would like to say there's almost nothing more frustrating than throwing the right weight at the broom and not having it happen. And as a skip, I just blame myself because I gave the ice.
Yeah.
But as a player, it can be frustrating. But that's where it's not only the skip who comes into play. It's kind of all the team members to start recognize when something's not working and what are we going to do to fix it.
Raise double here.
It's looking close. And they get them all going, and that's a beauty. They're going to sit 2 in the back 8. Opens things up wide.
I believe Team Retchless now lies maybe first and second, definitely first. But no trouble stones for Team Balsdon here. I mean, be a simple single point for them. They're going to try to hit and roll into the pocket here. He's got some tight ice on this one.
And so long roll, so we'll expect to see a bit of weight here to make sure that they get the roll. They can roll anywhere from edge of button over to edge of 4. The sweeper's just waiting for this. They get the hit. They will get the roll.
That's a good shot. He had nice weight on that.
So Rob's going to play the hit, and they'd like to roll a hair towards center, avoid that jam at the back. Again, it is Team Balsdon with the hammer. And Rob Retchless's first rock of the third end.
Look at the rotation on this one. Like, that's typically what you'd see on more aggressive arena ice. And as a consequence, it's not going to curl enough.
Plus, it was on that center line, and it just rode the center line the whole way. All the rocks behind the tee. This is pretty ideal for Team Balsdon.
Yeah, no danger of a steal. I think Greg's going to try the double here to lie 3.
We're going to see a pretty solid backswing on this one as well.
Yeah, Greg's old school. He's not afraid to lift a rock, although the rock almost weighs as much as he does. So throw more normal weight than I would say than Peel, though. And this is dicey.
It makes contact with the first one, spins up and sits shot, but will not get the double.
It's funny, we had about 6, 7 rocks in the rings earlier, and now if this double's executed, we could come out of here with a blank end.
Yeah, we saw that yesterday, just the ability of the men to throw the high hard weight and get rid of a couple at once, and all of a sudden it's a totally different end, which is why the leads rocks can be so important. You've got to make sure that you're throwing those guards so that you do generate more offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we saw, without a couple, even when we did have a guard or 2 in play, it still ended up being a blank end, but when the leads really got their rocks up above and in good position, so there wasn't really a double, that's when we saw the offense come into play.
I think he's going to avoid the double here and just try to hit and roll in front of Team Balston's rock in the back 12-foot. Problem with the double, you miss it. It's a guaranteed 2. It's got real soft weight here. And again, tons of, this is just a helicopter going down the ice.
And hair heavy is the indication.
Did not end up in an ideal spot.
I don't want to say an automatic double, but Greg is licking his chops on this one. This is a double for a deuce. I think it's pretty automatic. What they were just spending a little bit of time talking about is where to put the broom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is fairly automatic, they double it. They want to make sure they stick their shooter in the rings because these rocks, as I like to say, the striking bands are quite lively, aren't they?
That's what I hear. I hear the striking bands can be lively.
And he needs to hit the nose in order to pick
if
up
he hits
the
half
deuce.
a rock here, the gear effect will kick in and the rock could spin out of the rings. It's popped up on this one. A little concerned. Looks pretty good, though.
And he makes contact with the back one, but it will stand. So that is 2 points for Team Balsdon in the third end. And they will now lead 4-1 over Team Retchless. Now looking out on the other sheets out on the ice, we have Team Howard still in the third end. As we reported earlier, they stole a single point in end 2, and they lead 2-0 over Team Ferris. Team Bice picked up a deuce in end 3, and they lead 3-1 over Team Dow. Team Durrell blanked the third end, and they maintain a 2-1 lead over Team Epping. And Team McDonald with a steal of 2 to jump out to 4-0 lead over Team Thomas. Again, you said it earlier, Pete, that's a huge matchup over on Sheet A.
Yeah, it could be a situation where it's tough for Thomas to adjust to the ice. I mean, they're the only team in the field that had to fly in 2 players. Charlie flying in from Alberta, and Casey's the only one I know that lives in Ontario but has oceanfront property in Charlottetown. It's weird. We have a question from Twitter for Robbie Lenentine. He is affiliated with the Team Jones rank, our former World Junior champions who lost, I believe, the semifinal this week at the Nationals. So they're making their way home from Saskatoon to Charlottetown today. He wants to know how long it's going to take to get home, perhaps a 7 to 10 beer day. I'm going to modify his strategy, Robbie. I think you should get started with 2 or 3 Caesars. You right, get some stomach coating there before you hit the beer. So I'd expect you to maybe have 2, 3 Caesars, and then you could probably down a 6-pack, and that's a comfortable day.
Spoken like a true pro with experience.
Ooh, well, a little mistake here, Danielle. Slipped in the rings.
Again, the lead rocks we talked about, so important to really set up the end, and it's going to be a totally different looking end. But on the other hand, we do have a 5 rock-free guard zone in effect, so one of the benefits of that is if you do slip in the rings, you have an extra opportunity to throw a guard. And this rock will be removed, and they will get a hair of a roll in, so nice shot.
It's such a big mistake to throw that in. You get another crack at the corner guard because of the 5 rock rule, but I know when I was skipping, I always found it frustrating. You drop a bad deuce like that, but you do have an opportunity to get it back if you can get a corner guard up, and then a slide in the rings is pretty inexcusable.
Well, it essentially takes the ability away to generate all that offense that you sorely need. But again, we're playing 10 ends here at the Provincials, so lots of games still left to come. And the corner guard has gone up. Team Balsdon with their rock staying nicely in the top 4. They'll just be happy with a guard on this rock, force Team Retchless to make a play at it.
Nice aggressive call here by Greg. Even up 4-1, I mean, you just can't keep things clean with the 5 rock rule. That's one of the best aspects of the rule, is it forces teams to play offense if they're willing to take advantage of the rules. That's a nice spot there.
Yeah, and even though it overcurled slightly, it's the side you want to be, because now you can see it blocked off their ability to use the corner guard from the inside out. Block the right side of the rock.
We have a question from 2 girls in a game. They want to know if there's any potential calendar picks at the Ontario Tankard and Scotties. I'm going to say, due to the Me Too movement, I'm not going to answer that. I'm, you know, I've gotten trouble in the past. I'm going to plead the 5th on that. Lay low. No choice but to play the run back here for Team Retchless. They don't want to lose their shooter, though. They want that to stick around. That's a great shot.
Yeah, beauty run back. Terry Arnold getting his team out of some trouble early in the end, and even though it left the center line guard, at least now it's their rock, so if they need to play the same shot, run it in, they'll be running in their own.
Brad Kidd playing the out-turn draw here. Again, key to keep this in front of the tee line. But you do want to create some separation around the guard here, because Retchless will probably be playing the run back again.
See all that late movement. It was hanging way out there, and they were just waiting for it. Now it finishes nicely. You can see that top weight actually just It moves so much just past the hog line, really. You can see it even poked out the other side of that, but not a problem. There are two guards up there. So Terry looking to make a repeat of his first shot, straight run back.
Tried to go with the audible there. Yeah.
And he gets it. Doesn't stick around, but still, great shot. Now where he left the rock, it is hair off center. So the question is, and Gardner was asking from the hack about tapping that blue rock back. But it appears that they're still electing to play the outturned draw. And I think what Greg was thinking there is if you tapped it back, that rock might not be in the rings. And they want to make sure sit to and put the pressure on. Plus, they're going a hair outside, but it's essentially about the same path as was just thrown. They're sweeping a little bit before the break point, which generally straightens it out, and we are seeing it run straighter, not getting quite as much finish. Chris isn't happy about that. So now the hidden roll is available.
Yeah, an opportunity here for Retchless to create some offense. If they do roll, they're probably going to be a hair behind the tee, though.
Alex Champ and his first rock of the fourth end.
Alex looks like he could still be playing Bantam mixed, eh? He's got a very youthful appearance.
Yeah, we got some good genes going for him.
Needed that one to curl up a little more. Good opportunity for Chris to make a hit and roll here underneath the guard.
My prediction this week is we're going to see the teams bring down their weight lower and lower as it goes on, as they figure out the ice. I mean, the men are already throwing board.
Yeah, that was only about board weight there.
Yeah, I think we're going to end up seeing some hack weight closer to the end of the week. Teams get more confident with the ice, plus realizing that it will have to bring down the weight in order to make these shots. Nice quiet weight about hack weight we were talking about, and they got the flop inside, and it's pretty much covered. So they talked about they have a small half available, but they talked about playing the run. I mean, if they play the hit on the rock straight back there, you know they're going to roll open. And the key here is to make sure that they stick around in the house.
Yeah, there's no opportunity to roll underneath, but they do have to, that's a danger stone for them. They've got to remove it. Can't afford to roll out. They have to stay for shot rock here.
A touchy shot here. Starting to bend. Nice, calm, just easy hack weight, and they will make that roll to the outside. But it's been Team Balsdon with dominating so far. They've been able to keep their rock in play. So this is another big shot for Skip Gregg. So far, the three players in front of him have been making their draws, even though they might not have been perfect and perfectly buried, they've done enough to force Team Retchless to pursue. Greg Balsdon with his first in the fourth end.
Real close.
And that is a beautiful roll. Right in behind cover.
Yeah, I don't think there's any choice but to play the run back now if you're Retchless. After Greg's first rock, he's thrown nothing but perfect stones since then.
So Team Retchless with the hammer. Needing a skipper's deuce here.
Yeah, he needs to make this one, or scoring will be extremely difficult.
And it is bending right at the last minute.
Good shot.
Great shot. Bumped out into the open, but again, that nice controlled weight to run it back. Keeps it in play.
If Greg makes the roll again, he's going to have to make that again just to score. I mean, mission accomplished here for Team Balsdon either way. I mean, you force, you're up 2 with. In a great situation. I don't do a lot of the analytical work, but I would suggest that if you score 2 every time you have the hammer and the other team only gets 1, you're probably going to win the game at least 70% of the time, Danielle.
Yeah. Solid analytics. And a late finish here. We'll get the hit and roll. We'll roll a little bit farther, so this
still a good shot, though.
It's great to get it behind. It's still a pressure shot for Team Retchless to throw against 2, and they saw this ice is pretty release sensitive, so not that it was a good throw, but just the way it finished a little bit harder than they expected than his first one. This ice is really picking up on throws, good, bad, otherwise. The last rock of the fourth end, Team Rob Retchless needs to hit the 4-foot to pick up the single point. Line looking good. Needs it to sit in the 4-foot. Gardner's sweeping it out the back.
That's a big mistake.
And it will be 1, if not 2. And it was a steal of 2 for Team Balsdon, so they have now taken a commanding 6-1 lead over Team Retchless. We'll go across the other sheets on the ice today. We've got 2-2 tie, Team Howard, Team Ferris. Team Ferris had picked up their deuce in end 3. Team Dow now has a 4-3 lead over Team Bice. They
huge
scored a
3-ball
there. Big one. We have
steal of 2.
Steal of 2 is right in by Team Epping when Team Durrell's rock just came a little heavy. So Team Epping now taking a 3-2 lead over Team Durrell. And on our sheet A, Team McDonald has a 4-0 lead over Team Thomas. And they have a couple rocks to come still in the fourth end. But you can always check out the scores and keep track of them at ontcurl.com/scoreboard. Back on our feature sheet. Pete, what do you expect to see for the next couple ends from Team Retchless?
Hopefully they can make some shots. I mean, they're with the 5-rock rule, you can, like you said yesterday, 3 is the new 2. But they've got to go double corner guards here and basically throw all their cards on the table. They're going to need some help from Balsdon, some misses. Greg's been very sharp. It's just come down to some unfortunate execution so far for Retchless.
Well, even in the last end there, it was right off the top, they were chasing them the entire way, and say some unfortunate execution, but last end it was all about Team Balsdon just executing straight up and really making it tough on them. We're seeing this late finish, and it's pretty much right on the money where they'd like it. You're seeing from Rob, but I love this call, the double guard on the same side. Big fan of that.
Yeah, more and more teams are doing that now. The key, if you're going to play 2 on the same side, is to make sure you get some separation. This one's looking pretty deep. Supposed to stop about right there, and it's going to end up frozen.
And they're just trying to sweep this, make this.
It bounced off, and it was, I mean, bad enough that it's good. It makes for a very tough double peel now.
Well, and that was kind of the key. At least if you're not going to make the shot perfect, figure out a way to at least get something out of it. So good call in the audible there.
I mean, when we played 4-rock rule, a 6-1 lead, you're going to try to play it fairly conservatively if you're Team Balsdon, and this is the 5th rock going into play right now with a 5-point lead. You'd never see that before.
Yeah, it's huge. And I mean, that's what the 5-rock rule was meant to do. It was meant to generate more offense. So way more exciting for viewers, and I would even argue as a player it's way more fun too. This target practice isn't exactly exciting.
No, I think you'll see Greg throw a few peels after this, but Retch is going to try to hit and roll behind the guard here. Nosing it is another option. Stay frozen, the rock you're hitting.
They're needing to go. This rock is taking a turn, and it will should come up to about nose. They're, as you mentioned, now changing the shot call. Still a good result. They would have liked to have seen that curl up a hair more. As you can see, it's now available for hitting if need be, but Greg's looking to ignore that situation initially, play the double, though I think the concern is the way those 2 corner guards are staggered. If you don't hit them right, you could be sending one into the rings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So back to the 5-rock rule. Sometimes offense is your best defense.
Yeah, and like we said at the start of the show, Greg is not afraid to get rocks in play. Very comfortable with it.
Well, he knows that throughout his lineup, both Brad and Chris, they have the firepower and the accuracy to just move the granite around if they ever do get in trouble.
That's a really good shot. Great stagger.
Wanting to do some rearranging here. Team Balsdon, not necessarily all the angles right now, Team Retchless, because all the angles are coming up for Team Balsdon here. So if they can manage to play a bit of a tap and roll off of the blue, not necessarily removing it from play, also it'll make contact with their back yellow, pushing both behind guard. It's ideal. And now that we're coming down, when you have such a big score differential, every shot counts for Team Retchless, and there's the shot difficulty goes up, as does the lack of tolerance for a shot. This is a pretty good-looking shot. They did bury at least one. I'd like to have hit that a little bit harder. I think, tough shot to call. They still made it pretty well. They would have liked to made slightly more contact with the top one in order to shoot their back one also and behind the guard, but still good positioning with their shooter.
Open hit here for Chris to lie 2. Just got to be careful about where they leave the shooter. Got a question from Mr. Gachawa on Twitter. This guy's a great follow if you don't follow him on Twitter. Very funny individual. Wants to know whatever happened to Russian Kate. It's painful for me to talk about. Nice shot here by Chris. Miss Kate ended up marrying and moving to Italy. She is back curling. She keeps harassing me to play mixed doubles. I think she's having trouble accepting the fact that we're over, but you will see Kate back on the curling scene. She picked up a silver medal in the Russia Cup about a week or 2 ago, playing with her niece. Rocket.
It is great. The curling world is so small, and you end up seeing these players all over, and it's
everywhere you go.
Absolutely.
All over the world, really. I mean, it's insane.
I mean, that's what's kind of cool, even when you look at our field out here. These players have been playing against each other for years. You grew up playing against them.
Apparently mostly a mixed. From you know.
Yep, all in mixed competitions. They all see each other, especially on this sheet, almost every year at mixed provincials. And then someone comes out of that eventually.
I think they're going to play the out-turn double here. Got a good chance to score 2 or more if they can execute this shot. They switched the call and they're playing the in-turn roll.
And a nice looking roll here. Beautiful.
Yeah, it rolled far enough that a bit of the back blue on the shot rock is exposed, so there's a play on that. Very little short run back. I mean, we're the 3rd second stone, and this would be the first peel of the end thrown by Team Balsdon, which is very unusual, a 6-1 lead.
Mm-hmm. Imagine they're playing a run back here. Like to see is spill their shooter in front of the other rocks, ideally.
That's a good shot.
That's beautiful. They hit it about where they thought they wanted to, but just jumped off of it and over the side. But yeah, it really was great.
Bands coming into play.
Yeah. Your favorite topic of conversation.
That's somebody's favorite topic of conversation. Who's on TV?
This does leave still a corner guard for Team Retchless, essentially 2 where Gardner's last rock landed. So
yeah, they need to keep this in front of the tee. If they slip behind the tee, Greg will just follow them down. But if they can keep this in front of the tee, Greg doesn't have a great play on that second shot stone because his back one's in the way.
And
this looks like a missile.
And players need to remember, quite often when you're going inside out, it's a speedier path, despite the fact that it curls so much. It often is speedier. And
is that one 15 feet faster?
Well, might have just been after throwing a few hits there, the draw weight may not have come back as quick as it could have, but it will.
Generally, when you see your sweepers running beside your stone on a draw, it's not ideal. Good cardio workout, though.
So it'll be they were talking about a peel on the corner guard here. I think they were even looking at the peel into the yellow rock potentially. And now they might be switching tactics over to a guard. I mean, it is a pretty good situation for them right now. If they can get a guard up on there, it's going to be Rob throwing some more run backs, I expect.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for Greg a bit and where to put this. If he guards his blue one fully, he'll leave an open, difficult but open tap. And if he overcurls, obviously, Rob would be able to play the back one and lie too. So this has to be pretty precise. He motioned that he motioned to split. That would be a surprising call, but I would assume he's just throwing a tight guard here.
Agreed. I mean, putting the pressure on, even though you're up by a ton, they're in a pretty good situation here. And you see the guard going up and some good line. And a great placement right in front. As you predicted, going to make a play on that back one.
Yeah, the back one's a hair open. It's not easy, but we know with that late finish, as long as the weight is good, that you can get to that stone.
As long as it gets over the center, that's the key here.
You don't have to kill it. You just have to get it out of the 8-foot.
It's been Team Balsdon just putting on some serious pressure all game. Rob has not had a ton to look at yet.
No, he's had tough shots right from the get-go. He throws a little more handle on these. And he's going to need it here.
Great scrub.
Yeah, excellent sweeping.
Yeah, they even just took the top yellow, but they still at least punched the blue out. Not quite into the open, but at least out from behind the guards.
It's going to be a tough, as we said, I mean, he's going to have a tough score here now, though. They've had a couple of real unfortunate, just millimeter over curls, and it's starting to show up on the scoreboard for sure. No pressure on this shot at all for Greg. It's an open draw, just has to throw it anywhere in the 8-foot. Like to bite the 4.
This will be his last rock, the 5th end.
So on the exact same path that he threw in the first for his draw for 2.
And this looks pretty good. All the sweepers to place it right in the right spot. It is looking good. See that finish at the end. And that's a beauty.
They might have wanted to sweep that a little at the end to bury a bit more of it. They're looking at a potential double here. I'm not sure if they can see enough of it.
And stick around. It could be a double for 1. But I think they would be in tough to try to stick their shooter. Possible depending on the weight they play.
Yeah, I think they could
pretty
make
touchy.
It with board or hack. Surprised that Balsdon didn't sweep that one. I mean, they bury another inch of it. This shot's not there. I think the scoreboard's dictating this call as well, right? You're down 6-1. A single's not going to do a lot for you.
Yeah, you've got to pretty much make it. It's there, but the board weight double, the hack weight double.
Eddie Wernick used to make these in his sleep.
You've tightened up the broom. It's hanging out here, starting to make a move.
Yeah.
They make contact with the first, but not the second.
Blew the line call a bit there.
And it is another steal for Team Balsdon. They pick up a single in the fifth, and they continue to lead now by a score of 7-1. So we'll have more curling coming your way right after the fifth end break.
Why is curling such a passion for Canadian farmers? We think we know. In farming and curling, the idea is the same. It's about friends and family, teamwork, using the right tools, and getting it done under pressure. That's why New Holland and Pioneer Hybrid are proud to support Curling Canada, helping to grow the game we love. From your team at New Holland and Pioneer Hybrid, here's to success in the field and fun in the rink.
Every day you go new places. A small change in how you do things, or moving your things to a whole new town, or many things to many towns, all at once. No matter how small the move, it can be a big leap from where you are now. You've got it in you to go new places. So do we. We go there every day. We're here to help you move to places on the map, in the mind, in the heart, or all three.
Go new places with AMJ Campbell. Contact us at 888-AMJ-MOVE or amjcampbell.com.
I believe hard work and honest sweat are the building blocks of a person's character.
I believe farming nurtures the close family ties that make life rich in ways money can't buy.
I believe that true happiness comes from watching your crops ripen in the field, your children grow tall in the sun, your whole family feel the pride that springs from their shared experience.
I believe in farming because it makes all this possible. Long before the snow begins to melt, planning for the seeding season is underway. Start seeding off strong by using the right drill for the job. New Holland's P2082 disc drill precisely and consistently places seed and fertilizer for rapid nutrient uptake, and it does it all in one pass. Experience equal and even emergence through the innovation of New Holland. To learn more, visit your local New Holland dealer.
And welcome back to Draw 2 of the Ontario Men's Provincial Tankard. We have on our feature sheet today Team Balsdon and Team Retchless. Currently we have Team Balsdon leading a score of 7-1. On our other sheets this morning, some great matchups. Team McDonald and Team Thomas. It is Team McDonald with a 6-1 lead. Also on the ice today, we have Team Epping taking on Team Durrell. And after a quick start off the mark by Team Durrell, it is Team Epping who has overtaken them, picking up a 3 spot in N5, and they now have a 6-2 lead. Team Dow with a steal of 1 in N5, now leading Team Bice 5-3 after the halftime break. Still in the 5th end, Team Ferris and Team Howard. Team Ferris with a 3-2 advantage over Team Howard with a steal of 1 in N4. My name's Danielle Inglis, and I'm joined today by my co-host, the one and only Pete Stetsky.
Hi, Danielle.
So, Pete, bring the viewers up to speed about the first 5 ends of what we've seen out here.
Basically, Balston's team has been very good, and Retchless has just had a few loose shots. A real key one was in the 3rd end. They had in the 4th end, they had a draw for 1. It slid too deep, still at 2. After that, they had to gamble pretty hard. And 5, they gave up another steal. But basically, it's mostly come down to execution. Greg's teams have been very good, and Retch's team has struggled a little bit.
And for the next 5, what do you expect to see out of both teams?
Hopefully some handshakes, but no, I mean, they're tough. Even with the 5-rock rule, a 3 here, you're still down 3 without. Retchless is going to throw everything at Greg. What's funny is it doesn't look like Greg's going to ease off the pedal either.
You know what? Don't need to change anything if it's been working for him. And like you said, the fact that they're putting in the rocks in a great place right off the bat on their first, it's been pretty key that Denny now is just getting the rocks right in the right spots above there. We talked earlier, the team's still getting used to the speed of the ice right off the bat. We saw some rocks slip behind the tee, but now can see what an impact that has when you get the rocks in the right positions as the lead.
Yeah, it's probably been the biggest adjustment, I would say, as Andrew's got his stones the last 2 or 3 ends. Absolutely perfect, getting Team Balston off to a great start in the end. Even here, top 4, full 12, both on the center line. They're going to throw a tight guard here. They can even afford to slip in. Question from Johnny Mack. He wants to know if they ever do spot checks on the ice, even in between draws. It is not as common as it used to be, Johnny. But every once in a while, they will check the temperature to make sure the ice is maintaining a current level and a consistent level. They'll adjust based on the number of people in the crowd or how cold it is or warm it is in the building. Excellent question there, John.
Speaking of people in the crowd, it's a decent crowd out here for a Monday morning, especially a snowy Monday morning.
Yeah, I've got family in the crowd this morning. I've got my 2 nieces and my nephew here supporting their dad, my brother, who is on sheet D right now.
And a nice shot here. Team Retchless, they removed the center. Unfortunately, they did wick the Balsdon team in behind the guard, but removing the rocks from the center was pretty key.
Simple out-turn peel here for Brad Kidd. Not a very good setup for Retchless right now.
And even got the second one pushing it into the rings. Great shot.
Yeah, there's, we're only at second stones. There's no corner guards in play right now. Another great start to the end for Balsdon.
So they do, Team Retchless with Brad's last one just bumped Team Retchless's rock in there. So seeing a guard being thrown.
They're actually calling this one into the back 12-foot.
Whoops, I missed that call there, but
because you're not tall enough to see.
got a little bit of a blocker here, but they're essentially using that blue rock as a guard right now, and well, it will end up as a guard. Still not a bad result. Essentially, where it is, it's tough to peel out right now.
Yeah, Greg's going to actually, looks like he's going to ignore it and hit the open one in the rings. Could entertain a slash. Like you say, there's some risk in it. You could always jam on your own blue.
Yeah, with this shot, it's if they can move not only Team Retchless's rock, but get some movement on their rock, they'll make that peel easier for themselves down the road. Play the hit and roll. Still a wall of blue back there, which Rob is pretty happy about. And I did catch it this time as I was standing on my chair, Pete. So now they are going around behind, and now that the difference here is that they also have a guard on this too. So big shot for Alex Champ.
Yeah, I'd say at best he can get in for second shot, maybe even third. You're not concerned about that right now. More concerned about getting it under cover, but he's got this one going a bit. This is a spot he had trouble with earlier in the game here.
And just over the center line, there's such great curl. You just see it goes sideways, but I mean, even though it wasn't the shot they wanted, at the very least, they kept the shooter in. And when you're down by this many, that's a little bit of a victory. You do need to make sure you're keeping your rocks in play.
You really are looking at the positive there, eh, Danielle? Good for you.
Well, you've gotta.
Yeah, I guess you do.
There's nothing else you can do, especially as a player on the ice. If you're just getting mad at the fact that you're down by a bunch, that's not really going to result in anything. So you might as well just try to figure out a way to win it. You
know what? You look at Team Retchless. I mean, they're probably going to lose this game, but they had a huge win last night, an unexpected win against Epping. So they're still in a very good spot at 1-1 after 2 draws. And I think Greg, if they continue to play this well this week, they can make the play. Greg's got so much talent.
Very raw talent. You mentioned that game last night, Team Retchless, they stole in the first end. Second end was blanked by Team Epping. Then Team Retchless stole a second point in the third. Team Epping picking up a deuce, tying it up in end 4. Team Retchless with a hammer with a deuce in end 5 to take a 4-2 lead, forcing Team Epping to a single point in end 6. Team Retchless blanking the 7th, picking up 1 in 8, and then it was a big steal of 2 in 9 for Team Retchless. That had the 7-3 win.
Unfortunate there. There's the gear effect right there.
Yeah, the rocks are
that
pretty
one
lively.
Just hit it a little off, spun out of the rings. It's going to be very difficult for Team Retchless to score 2 now. Greg's just going to draw open.
That's going to be another skipper's deuce potential here. And Team Retchless, they've had some misses, and at this point, you can't miss shots if you're down that much. But on the other hand, it's been Team Balsdon. They've just been simply making their shots. It can be very easy when you have a huge lead to toss one through the rings or go deep accidentally, but they've really been great with their rock placement, and that's made all the difference. Greg Balsdon with his first rock of the 6th end.
Speed still really holding up nicely out there. Another perfect shot by Greg.
And putting all the pressure on them. So play the hit and roll. They could play the freeze over on the blue rock behind cover. They could come around behind those rocks. It's not a ton of places to hide. I mean, they can play the freeze there, but even if they do get it perfectly frozen to the rock over on the side 4, it's a good chance Greg's going to be able to blast that out. And we just saw an example of how lively those striking bands are, so it'll go right out. And that's why Team Retchless is opting to play around the corner guard.
Yeah, I don't think they have any choice but to go around this corner. I mean, they're going to need a miss out of Greg either way. And I think you're more apt to get a mistake playing this shot than just the wide open hit.
Rob Retchless with his first rock of the 6th end. This is starting to bend. It swept it a bit through the break point. Now seeing the finish. They need this to bend, and bend big. They also need to drag this in. Swept a bit of the curl out of it at first. One of the things you have to be pretty cautious about is when you sweep, because if you're sweeping before the break point, and what I mean by the break point is the point in which the rock starts to really curl. It's going to run straight for a bit, and then there's a point where it starts to pick up that curl. If you're sweeping before the break point, you're holding it straighter, and that break point will be later in the sheet. And what we saw right there is they swept it a bit off the top, didn't give it a chance to pick up that curl early enough, and it is still not quite wide open, but pretty close.
Yeah, Greg can see most of this. He doesn't care if he sticks around or not. He just wants to kill the yellow. No mistake.
And a little roll flip to the inside. So it'll be Team Retchless shooting against 4, needs a draw to the full 4 foot to pick up the single. Last rock of the 6th end. Team Retchless draw the 4 foot for the single. The sweepers keeping it clean on it. It's all in the sweepers right now. Line is looking good. Need a good chunk of the 4 foot, and they will get it. And it is 1 for Team Retchless and handshake. So we have a final score on our feature sheet this morning. Will be Team Balsdon 7 to Team Retchless's 2. So Pete, if you could summarize this game for our viewers. Some of our viewers might have just joined us and wondering what happened in the first couple ends to bring us to this point.
I mean, pretty simple. Balston's team played very well, and Retchless did not. Wasn't their best game. They'll bounce back from this, I'm sure. But Greg and them were pretty flawless. They had pressure on them the entire game, took advantage of their hammers, and when they put pressure on Team Retchless, they seemed to break a little bit.
And we've got several other games still out on the ice. Today we have Team McDonald, Team Thomas. Still Team McDonald with the advantage on that sheet, 6-1. We have Team Epping and Team Durrell. And Team Epping, 6-2 over Team Durrell. I believe Team Durrell just picked up some points in that end, and we'll wait for them to go up on the board. We have Team Dow with a 5-4 lead over Team Bice. And Team Howard with a 3 spot in end 5, and they take the lead back from Team Ferris. They now lead 5-3. And of course, you can continue watching those line scores online on Curl-On's website. That's ontcurl.com/scoreboard. And this concludes our coverage of Draw 2 of the Men's Ontario Tankard. Please tune in at 4 p.m. this afternoon when we will be featuring Team Ferris against Team Epping. Until then, on behalf of myself, Danielle Inglis, my co-commentator, Pete Stetsky, and the entire TSL crew, we wish you a wonderful morning.
Why is curling such a passion for Canadian farmers? We think we know. In farming and curling, the idea is the same. It's about friends and family, teamwork, using the right tools, and getting it done under pressure. That's why New Holland and Pioneer Hybrid are proud to support Curling Canada, helping to grow the game we love. From your team at New Holland and Pioneer Hybrid, here's to success in the field and fun in the rink.
Every day you go new places. A small change in how you do things, or moving your things to a whole new town, or many things to many towns, all at once. No matter how small the move, it can be a big leap from where you are now. You've got it in you to go new places. So do we. We go there every day. We're here to help you move to places on the map, in the mind, in the heart, or all three.
Go new places with AMJ Campbell. Contact us at 888-AMJ-MOVE or amjcampbell.com.
I believe hard work and honest sweat are the building blocks of a person's character.
I believe farming nurtures the close family ties that make life rich in ways money can't buy.
I believe that true happiness comes from watching your crops ripen in the field, your children grow tall in the sun, your whole family feel the pride that springs from their shared experience.
I believe in farming because it makes all this possible. Long before the snow begins to melt, planning for the seeding season is underway. Start seeding off strong by using the right drill for the job. New Holland's P2082 disc drill precisely and consistently places seed and fertilizer for rapid nutrient uptake, and it does it all in one pass. Experience equal and even emergence through the innovation of New Holland. To learn more, visit your local New Holland dealer.
All right, we're actually going to give you some bonus curling this morning at the Ontario Men's Provincial Tankard. We are going to feature Sheet E and the action going on. You're joining us in end number 6, Howard versus Ferris, and right now on the screen, seeing Team Ferris's last rock. They have the hammer in end 6. They're needing a draw to the full button for the single. It's currently Howard sitting 1 in the side 4. And the big scrub by all 3 players to drag this rock. Again, needs a piece of the button for the single, but it will come up short, so it is a steal of 1 for Howard, and they will take a 6-3 lead going into the 7th end. So Team Howard was on our feature sheet last night, but a quick reminder of the players. We have skip Glenn Howard, 3rd Scott Howard, 2nd David Mathers, and lead Tim March. Now throwing the rocks on Team Ferris. Skip rocks Pat Ferris, 3rd Connor Duhame, 2nd Punit, and lead Xander Elms. Punit Stanikia. Apologies, Punit, for that quick lapse. But it's been a tight game right off the bat. We saw Team Howard with a single in end 1, picked up a steal of 1 in end 2. It was Team Ferris tying it up in end 3. The deuce, steal of 1 in end 4, and then end 5 was a big turning point for Team Howard with the 3 spot, and now a bigger turning point with 1 in the 6th.
Yeah, we briefly lost our coverage there. I had to work out my overtime pay here. So now that we've got that sorted out, we're back. Glenn made a great freeze last end to force that draw for 1 for Ferris, which just came up short. A big point there to go up 3.
We'll be seeing Team Ferris putting up some offense. Like to close the gap in the score. Again, 5 rock rule. Not a horrible position. Down 3 to Glenn Howard. Never good. You'd never want to be down to Glenn.
Yeah, it's not an ideal position.
But on the other hand, down 3 with the 5 rock rule, and they've got hammer this end. If they get some nice guards up here and get the rocks in position, they could potentially mount a comeback. And you talk about playing Team Howard here at the Provincials. I mean, 17 times he's been here. So as a team playing against him, how do you approach it?
Well, 17 times he's won it.
His 17 times he's won it.
Which is crazy, just insane. It's obviously an all-time record. I mean, with what they have as an advantage this week, in addition to obviously experience, is the fact they played the 5 rock rule for about 5 years now in the Grand Slam of curling. They're having an amazing slam season this year, 2 quarterfinal appearances, 2 semifinal appearances. So they're very comfortable with the rules, where most of the other teams we have in the field this week, this is their first year with the 5 rock. They play a lot less on the arena ice. So Howard is just so comfortable out there with rocks in play and continues to put more and more pressure on you, which we saw last end. And, Pat blinked, Glenn didn't, and it ended up in a steal of 1. But they're going to be very tough to beat. I know a couple of years ago people were saying, why is Glenn Howard continuing to play? And it's crazy. One, he loves the game, but he's up to number 8 in the world. I think he's 56 years old. But he's having a huge bounce back year. He's already qualified for the Players' Championship. And the Champions Cup, he's got a shot at playing in, something he lost the final in last year. So it's been a huge bounce back year. I think a big part of that is Scott Howard's had a great season, his first season at 3rd. We touched on it last night. He's been very impressive.
And Team Ferris getting both of those corner guards up in a great position, as you can see. But and Team Howard just putting the pressure on, not afraid to get the rocks in a good position, and they did. frozen right on the rock on the button.
Ferris has had a very good year as well. They're, in terms of the field, I believe they're about 5th ranked in the world out of the teams that are playing this week.
Yeah, 35th on the World Curling Tour rankings. We have Punit throwing the second stones for Team Ferris, and he is a 2-time mixed provincial participant. And this is his first Ontario men's tankard appearance, so pretty exciting times for Punit.
I believe he's a left-handed player, which probably helps Pat a little bit. Pat's left-handed as well. Gives him somebody else to ice off of.
And second for Team Howard, David Mathers. Guys, we mentioned last night, has the firepower. He was junior provincial champion back in 2011 with another player in this field, Matt Cam. Also the provincial champ back in 2015 with Mark Keane and 2017 with Glenn.
Team Howard sporting the white belts. Now, I've heard a rule about white belts, Danielle. It's a rule of 36. You need waist size of 36 or less, or you need to be 36 years or younger.
I just learned something new this morning.
And I think it's a good tip. Timmy's gone with the black belt. But we've got the second and third sport and the white belts out there.
You know, a few years ago, well, I would say even 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking about fashion at all in curling because there wasn't much of any. Yeah. We had poofy jackets, poofy pants. Everything was black and very boring, for lack of a better word.
Speaking of 10 years, though, 10 years ago, white belts were in fashion. So
they were, but since then we've seen different colored pants. We see teams now with tons of sponsored and sublimated clothing, so you see some color out here, some interesting patterns.
The game's come a long way since the knit sweaters that I wore at my first provincial in 1987. Ooh, big mistake there by Scott. See, every time I give Scotty a compliment, he just sewers me and ends up missing a shot. That one, fairly simple peel. He jammed on his own rock in the rings and now leaves Team Ferris lying 2.
In Team Ferris third, Connor Duhame. He's from Barrie, Ontario. And this is also his first tankard appearance, but he's no stranger to competition. He was in the mixed doubles national finalists with his wife, Chantal Duhame, and exciting for these guys. They just have a brand new baby, so they're brand new parents.
Yeah, she was on Team Tippin last year. They had a great season together. They picked up 3 or 4 wins, qualified for the Olympic trials, and I believe she played with with Joanne Rizzo this year.
Yep, they had a 5-man team out there as Chantal was due during the curling season. And a lot of talent on that team, but they got some tough breaks out there. They had some sicknesses, some injuries towards the end of the season, right in playdowns, and it just didn't happen for them this year. So we won't see them out here, but lots of talent there. Of course, for Team Howard, throwing the third rocks, Glenn's son, Scott Howard. He has tons on his resume, but some highlights here. That he was the men's provincial champion in 2015 with Mark Keane, 2016 and 17 with his dad. He went to the Briar those years, of course, not to mention that back in juniors he won with Matt Cam.
Made a nice double there, but Duhame's going to have an opportunity to draw around the guard. He just played this shot. They can sit 2 buried behind this guard. They got a real opportunity to score a 3-ender here.
So they're sweeping this, just about to come over the hog line. Really need to drag this into the house. Got the curl to fish. Inside out is pretty significant. So the teams have to take that into account.
On sheet D, a huge 4-ender for Team Dow has broke that game open. They now lead Team Bice 9-4. Epping continues to extend their lead. They're up 8-4 playing the 8th end. And on sheet A, Team McDonald continues to lead Team Thomas. They're up 6-3 with the hammer. Glenn can see a little bit of this rock. He's a master of throwing the right weight on these. Needs to just, he's looking to kill the stone and roll towards the center line. He might even be able to get shot rock here, which would prevent a 3-ender.
Skip Glenn Howard. Almost needs no introduction, as you mentioned, 17-time provincial champion. He's won 4 Brier titles. First in 1987 and 1993 with Russ Howard, his brother at Skip. Also in 2007 and 2012. And he's also won 4 world titles.
Big mistake there. 3-ender is definitely alive and well now. Just feather ticked the guard there.
So it's now, and like you said, he ticked it over, so it's now about fully exposed, but you mentioned got the 3-ender in play. Got Puna making his way down the ice to talk to Pat about this.
Yeah, they're calling to go towards those 2 blue stones. I mean, you got to be careful not to set up a triple here. If they can see enough of it, the double's there.
And Pat Ferris, the skip of Team Ferris from Grimsby, Ontario. He is a 2-time Canadian junior finalist, and this is his 5th appearance at the Ontario Men's Tankard. Again, if you're just joining us, we're on bonus coverage here at the Recharge with Milk Ontario Men's Tankard. Our feature sheet finished after end 6, and it was Team Balsdon 7-2 over Team Retchless.
And we have a final on sheet A. Team McDonald scored 3 in the 7th end to defeat Team Thomas 9-3.
And you had mentioned that would be one of the key matchups there, Pete.
Yeah, both teams come in with a very good chance to make the playoffs. I think maybe some jet lag and the time change might have hurt Team Thomas there. They're 1-1 now. And Team McDonald moves their record to 2-0.
We have 3 rocks in play on our feature sheet. Glenn and Scott having a good look at the situation to see the double. And it looks like that's what they're going to play. He just ticked over the guard on his first, so they've got that to contend with.
So Glenn's going to be firing this one a little harder than he did his first one. They've tightened up the ice here. Good chance of making a double.
Big scrub. Hear that guard.
Oh, jammed it.
And straight jam. Just need a hair more sweeping on that. And it will still be Team Ferris. Line 2, and it is a draw to the full 12, 4-3.
So they're right back in the game. That's a little bit of product of the 5-rock rule and an unfortunate miss by third stone Scott Howard. But we should be tied up now going to the 8th.
Big rock here. Skip Pat Ferris can tie it up. 6-all with a draw into full 12. Sweeper's really working this, picking it up right out of his hand.
It's a pretty unique sweeping style there by the one individual. Standing straight up, maximizing the leverage.
And they do get it, so it is tied up. Team Ferris, Team Howard, and it will be Team Howard taking the hammer into end 8. And quite the battle on this sheet. Team Ferris pretty pleased with their result so far. I mean, anytime you're going toe-to-toe with Glenn and having a good game is pretty good boost for your confidence.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that myself. We came out on the losing end playing Howard a lot more than the winning end, which is a captain obvious statement. Key here in the 8th end, again, getting back to the modern form of curling with the analytics. Some teams would throw this in the rings and look to force a blank. The theory being then you only have one hammer each in 9 and 10. You'd like to force in 9, take 2 and 10. Glenn's probably not going to fall for that, though. He'll play fairly aggressive for his 2 here.
That is a center line guard. Saw Glenn call for a corner guard, not uncommon. Generate that offense. And lead Tim March for the team. He is a provincial champion last year with John Epping. Also was in the Brier, and they finished second after the round robin and lost their next 2 playoff games, but pretty solid player. And as you mentioned yesterday, Pete, a really solid sweeper as well.
Yeah, he works out a lot. He prides himself on his sweeping. Not the biggest guy in the world, but he uses max leverage and speed. Nice little corner guard there. We have a question from Rob Doherty. He was one of our Olympic spotters. Wants to know why Ricky never traveled more to Bonspiels. Ricky's trailer house was not mobile, so for the most part, he played around New Brunswick. He put in some time curling with, actually, Glenn's brother Russ. Made a Brier appearance or 2. Big shot here coming around the center guard.
For lead Xander Elms, who is a 3-time Ontario junior participant, Canadian University finalist, and this is his first Tankard appearance.
Yeah, he looks like he could still be in junior.
You know what, it is great when you see the juniors continuing on in the sport, because there's sometimes a gap when players finish juniors or finish universities, and then they're focusing on their career and their family life relationships, and sometimes you just don't see the players continue.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to break through on tour, more expensive to travel. It's good to see the juniors continue to play and have some success. There's another good shot there by Tim. Nice little corner freeze.
And it's great too seeing, I find this happened a lot more earlier, but now you see players starting their game now more with, sometimes they bring up their junior team. You don't see as often that an older player is taking on younger players as you did before. I mean, it's still happening. And I mean, an example of this is right out here with Glenn. But it used to be that you, as a younger junior, you join up forces with an older, more established team, but now we're seeing a few younger players join together. I would say even more on the women's side. We'll see that once we start the broadcast there.
We have another final, Danielle, on sheet D. It is handshakes. Team Dow, I believe, stole another one to win 10-4. Even the record at 1-1. Team Bice with the loss falls to 0-2.
On our other sheet on the ice, we have our second feature sheet on the ice. You're seeing the camera angle on the side because we are giving you some bonus curling coverage. But the other game that many eyes are on right now is the Epping-Durrell game, where it is Team Epping with an 8-4 lead over Team Durrell. Many rocks on play on that end. A couple rocks left to come, and we'll keep you updated there. But of course, all week you can find live scores available on Curl-On's website at ontcurl.com/scoreboard.
On our sheet, there's a nice little hit and roll made by Dave Mathers to provide another corner guard for Team Howard. Puna's playing a soft hit and roll here. He had really nice weight on that one, nice control, so he could save his shooter.
And he does, and gets the roll back in.
Glenn's in a good spot here, though. There's no center guard, so there's no worry of a steal at this point. He has 2 corner guards, a rock behind the corner, behind the tee line, so it's a nice setup right now for Team Howard.
All about manipulating the angles for them. So they're, even though there is a double possibility, they're just wanting the hit and roll. And a great scrub from players, and right over, and they will get it mostly buried. Pat's taking a look at it, but he's indicating to his team there is quite a bit of curl inside out off the line, so he's asking for a hack waiter, get a hit, and they can come up to nose, if not flop, to the inside. Big scrub here, get it by the guard, and they do. And punch it back out to lie 3. Way to go. Great shot making there from Connor Duhame.
Yeah, that was a big shot. It does leave Scotty the hit and roll. Double is an option, but I think Glenn would just like to roll behind the guard.
Nice finish here. They're getting the hit and roll, and it will roll right under over there, and it's a beauty.
Really nice touch there by Scott.
And over on our other sheet on the ice, it was Team Durrell with the single in end 8. So they will trail Team Epping 8-5, and Team Epping with the hammer in end number 9.
So Glenn's got exactly what he wants in this end. The play is over towards the wing. Team Ferris trying to freeze, but it looks like they come up a little bit light, just rubbed off the guard. Glenn will continue to lie 1.
Like you said, it was the weight really dictated the line on that one. If they had just a couple feet more, they would have been by that guard. Team Howard, if they can get a hit and flop right here, and they don't want to flop it too far, even just a nose, not bad.
Yeah, Scott just threw similar path here. A real nice touch on his first one. He doesn't want to overthrow this. Key is to stay in the rings. Going to play the in-turn.
Again, that soft weight, we saw it last night from Team Howard, and they were really able to manage their rocks well. Great scrub. Hair more of a roll than they would have liked, but still good. They will sit first and third shot.
Yeah, and I believe the black back blue one is still exposed if Glenn needed to make a play on it. Pat's going to throw his out turn here. Should run slightly straighter than the right-handers in turn. Looking to play a corner freeze onto the shot rock. It's hard to tell from our angle if Scott, if he rolled far enough, even if this freeze is made, Glenn may have a play on Scott's rock to tap it back.
Well, the biggest thing for Team Howard is that they were keeping the center open and they've drawn the play out to the wings. A big shot here. Pat Ferris needing a freeze to be shot rock. And their sweepers are backing right off this one. It looks like it's got some legs on it. Needs to stop. Got pretty close on the weight, but just rolls off.
Yeah, he's about a foot and a half heavy there.
We're seeing now what they're indicating is that there may even be a chance to sit 3, depending on how much they can see. And they could also, you can see Glenn indicating the hit and roll out to the other side, sit 2. Leave that alone. That would force Pat to make a play on it. Key thing for them is to make sure that they keep those 2 rocks as shot.
Yeah, they briefly looked at trying to lie 3. The problem with that is you leave a pretty easy out for Team Ferris. By hitting and rolling towards the center line here, as long as you stay 4-shot rock, you're basically forcing Pat to hit the open one, and provided you exchange hits, you'll get your 2 points.
And picking it up, big scrub by Tim March. They're now right off, and they're, I believe, calling the audible, playing the hit and roll the other way. So a good call to change it up. It was just, once it started to move, weren't holding it quite as well. Team Ferris, there's still enough room, he's indicating, that they can play a hit and flop over on top of the yellow. Timeout called by Pat Ferris. But they're trying to, the timeout isn't necessarily about changing the call, it's about taking the time to figure out where they're going to put the broom. That's the biggest part. And each of these teams has 2 60-second timeouts that they can use. If they have a coach, their coach will come out. If they don't, then they will just take the time either just to discuss amongst themselves. They're just the back end, like we saw, all 4 of them get together. But this wasn't necessarily a strategy call. This was just wanting to, it's a crucial part. You really don't want to give up 2 to Glenn in the 8th. So really wanted to take their time, make sure the broom's in the right spot.
Yeah, they need to make this perfect, or the damage could be more than 2. If they ever hit this high, Glenn will have an open shot for 3 or 4. Crucial to get the roll underneath.
And there's calling on the sweep, but looking close. And that is a beauty.
That's a great shot. Glenn's eyeing up the out-turn tap to see if it's there for 2.
Again, that was Scott's rock in the top 12 that hit and flopped over, and they're, again, just looking, see if it's a possibility. Of course, anytime he has a chance for 2, he's going to take it. And
I think more importantly, though, he needs to score here with it being the even end. If he can put a point up on the board, if he's going to play this shot, he's got to really think it's there, because it's a key to take that 1-point lead into the 9th. That way, even if you drop 2 and 9, you've got the hammer coming home. We know he likes that the fact that he's taking on this shot shows that he's got all of it and then some that he needs.
And they are going to play it. So this is a shot for 2. And this would be a big 2 points for Glenn Howard in the 8th end. All tied up with Pat Ferris.
But now a potential steal as well.
Sweepers cleaning it. On-off calls. Now we've got Tim sweeping to curl. Looking pretty close.
Yeah, great shot.
And that's why he is Glenn Howard, the Wizard. Great shot. Picks up the deuce in end 8. Leads 8-6 over Pat Ferris. That's kind of one of his bread and butter shots, wouldn't you say, Pete?
I don't know that they're not all bread and butter, but you're absolutely right. Like that little touch with the out turn, I mean, you certainly don't want to bet against it. 14-time Grand Slam champion, 4-time Canadian world champion. That's a huge, huge shot.
Those are the kind of shots that when they're made, they're a huge confidence booster that a team can be pretty deflating to the opponents.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's deflating to Team Ferris because they know they've got an opportunity to steal there if Glenn was to miss, but he made it perfect. Great call by Scott as well in the house.
That was truly a team shot, well thrown by Glenn, well swept, well called. He's stirring off this end. Glenn asking for top 4. Lead Tim March. Can see signs that Team Ferris wasn't happy. I mean, talk about deflation with that kind of shot, but I think what's even more deflating in this case is the fact that Team Ferris actually made a pretty good shot. As we could see from our angle, it looked like they just haired all of the guards and did as good as they could to get their shot into a good position. But not that they left Glenn's team with much, but when you make it after a good shot, it can be frustrating.
Yeah, any little crack that you provide for someone the level of a Glenn Howard, he's normally going to take advantage of. But they got 3 going away here last time. They'll throw up a couple of corner guards here.
Again, we just saw them generate a deuce 2 ends ago, a 3 spot 2 ends ago. So a deuce or, again, even 3 is not out of the question. And Tim's first rock did not make the top of the house. So we're playing a straight draw round to put this right into the top 4.
That's nice weight by Tim. I mean, he doesn't care whether he's totally buried there or not. That's a very nice position for that stone to be in. Some teams would throw another guard here. Pat can make a play on this top yellow, and his rock will not be in the ring. So essentially that is like having a second guard because Glenn will not be able to make a play on it.
That's part of the reason why I really wanted Tim's first one to be fully in, or even, well, not really fully out in that case, but this opens the door here for them to start manipulating the middle of the ice. So we're playing that, picking up right out of the hand, sweeping it. They need to make sure that they keep their rock outside the rings. They don't want to roll on. Get the hit and roll, but it will roll on.
Yeah, they even swept that a bit to get it on, which makes no sense. I mean, now Glenn has a play on it. You're down to one corner, and that corner is fairly high as well.
I guess my thinking there could be that they might be even happy blanking this end.
Some teams would do that for sure, although if you're going to do that, I don't think you would have thrown the corner. You would have just hit the one in the center, right?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. I'm struggling to come up with their explanation why they might sweep that on, but it was a hit and roll, and that will stop in the rings in behind Pat's corner, but actually that stops in a good position for Team Ferris. So now this allows them to play a freeze here, use that yellow rock as backing.
Yeah, there will be no attempted blank anymore. And going to go around this corner guard. Like you said, the yellow's in a great position for Ferris to use as backing.
And a quick update on our other sheet on the ice. It is handshakes with Team Epping picking up their first win of the competition. They are now sitting at 1-1. Team Durrell drops to 0-2.
They did not get that in there frozen, but it's still a decent shot. Glenn's going to go up and peel the corner guard here.
Dave Mathers tossing second stones. See, Pat's could see Tim actually physically running after that rock. It was thrown so hard. Team Ferris will replace the corner guard. It's the call. Yeah, the sweeper's just waiting on the curl. Looks like it's coming in a little heavy. Needing it to hit the brakes. And it does. So now and Scott is in the hack, ready for the peel. Waste no time on the clock. So now we're seeing a situation where there aren't too many no guards in play right now, and Pat's asking for a draw in behind the rocks in the top rings. They know that if they throw another corner, it's just going to be peeled right out. So they're essentially now using the blue and yellow rocks over on the side as guards. They'd like to see a draw behind here.
Yeah, it's a good call. Like you say, they're just going to peel the corner if they put it up. If they can get this wrapped in right around everything, I mean, you'll see Glenn hit the open one in the 12-foot, but it's a good way to try to generate a 2. I mean, a blank end is now back on. I mean, it doesn't look that way because they're throwing a 4th one in, but if Glenn was somehow to make a double and roll out, Pat can make a hit and roll, and now the blank end is back on.
And they were scrubbing it right off the top. Want it into the back. Need a sweep for the curl. Need to bury it. Beautiful line here, just squeaking by the guard. Need it to go back as far as possible. And that is pretty good for second shot. They didn't get it fully buried, so Glenn is talking about getting rid of the rock. And by the broom, it looks like we're about to see some heat from Scott. And Tim's picking up this rock right from the hand almost.
That's a good shot there. Howard continues to lie 2. Looking at maybe making a hit and roll now, making a play on the shot stone. Or he's going to draw. It's the same ice for either.
It's the same broom.
It's the same ice for either. I'd be more apt to draw.
And it looks like, by the way Connor Duhame is pushing out, that will be a draw. There. Got a heavy clean on here. Now both sweepers picking up the rock. Need this to curl. It's like the weight is there. They just need it to curl. And curl it does.
But I believe it's third shot. Glenn has the opportunity just to follow that down.
Yeah, they could have just left that one for a little bit more. They were sweeping to curl rather than sweeping for line. So they really could have left that to try to get it shot at a good line. Because now you can see that Glenn's not entertaining the thought of doing any sort of hit. He's just happy to draw right down to it, sit 3. This is Glenn's first rock of the 9th end. Going for the freeze to the back blue rock. Line's looking pretty close. Weight's looking good. Sweepers on and off. And just cleaning it in. And that's a beauty.
Yeah, nice touch by Glenn. They now lie 3. Pat, I don't think, has any choice but to play the shot rock right now, try to roll over on top of the rock that Glenn just threw, and then hope for a mistake out of Glenn and they can get a 2 and tie up the game.
It's going to be more of a skipper's deuce right here.
Just fit in here, Daniel, that we have a comment on Twitter from David Gravelli. Wants to know why I'm not addressing you as a world champion. I believe I already have. He says you're a big deal. I know you're a very big deal. Olympic spotter, 5th player at the Scotties last year, and the reigning world mixed champion. Congratulations on your mixed title.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a busy season, but a pretty exciting one.
So Pat's going to throw his in turn here. Try to hit about a half a rock and roll over to the face of Team Howard Stone. They just threw.
They've got the hit, the roll. They need it to roll a bit further, but it will be fully exposed, so it'll be a wide open hit for Glenn.
Yeah, I don't think Glenn even really has to worry too much about where he rolls here. Should be able to force just by removing the stone.
Though they are talking about it, exactly where they'd like to place the rock. After a quick discussion, I mean, sitting 3, if they can remove this. They're looking, they don't want to leave any sort of triple if they can. I think that's what they were kind of looking at, that if the blue rock were ever to, if they were ever to hit and roll and leave a little bit of a hole for the blue rock to hit the 2 yellows, skinny through and hit the back yellow, that's what they don't want.
That'd be pretty fancy.
That would be fancy, but it might be there. And against Glenn, those are the kind of shots you have to make sometimes.
A little worried on this one.
It is over curling. He will avoid the jam at the back and still lie 3, and pretty good result.
Yeah, Pat will play the open hit here for 1. And he'll have no choice but to throw 2 center guards in the 10th to try to generate a steal.
So trailing by 2 points, it is Team Ferris. The hit for 1 in end number 9. And that is good for the single. So it'll be Team Howard up 1 with the hammer in N10. So, Pete, your thoughts on Team Howard's approach going into this last end?
Well, we saw last night they were in a similar situation, and they played double ticks with Tim. So I expect being one up with, they'll do that for sure if they're going to do it when they're tied up with. So they'll try to go high guard here if you're Ferris. You'll see a tick attempt out of Tim March, and then there'll be another guard regardless out of Team Ferris.
Still a good crowd sticking around here this morning. And they've had some good games to watch out here too, even though we've had some runaway scores. There were some back and forth points, especially at the beginning, teams trading it. So the final score didn't dictate all of the gameplay out there. Now, big scrub by everyone to try to get this over the hog line, and it will be hogged.
Yeah, for the kids watching at home, the key to throwing the high guard is to make sure you get it over the hog line.
Solid Monday morning tip,
right?
courtesy of Pete Stetsky.
That's my tip of the day.
Now, the good news for Team Ferris is the fact that there is the 5 rock free guard zone rule, so they will have a chance to throw the 2 guards still.
You know what? They would in the 4 rock rule as well.
They would too, but at least they get a better chance. I mean, now it's lone rock being thrown down right through Team Howard. But the difference in the 4 rock versus the 5 rock rule, Pete, is that they would throw the 2 guards, but they would have been coming around by the seconds rocks rather than still having to throw the guard.
You lost me there with that explanation.
Well, essentially, there's no rocks in play here, and we need Team Ferris to throw some guards here, generate some offense. Saw the first rock hogged.
Like the main difference with the 5 rock is it gives the team with the hammer the opportunity now to throw 2 guards, where in the past using the 4 rock, only the team attempting to steal had the ability to get up to 2 guards. So if you're trying to steal, 4 rock, 5 rocks, identical. But if you're trying to generate those extra points with the hammer, you can utilize a second guard. Here's the tick shot coming out of Timmy.
Yeah, good point, Pete. Guess I need some coffee this morning. And Scott Howard lightly cleaning. Looking close. Good weight. Dave Mathers sweeping to curl. He will make contact, but yeah, and that's not bad. Moving the rock over. Got 2 corners there. And what do you make of the weight that they used on that?
Remember last night, Tim threw one, and we thought it was pretty good weight. It was just back line and a bit, and Glenn, he thought it was a little too much weight, so they must throw theirs like back 8, back 4.
They're not minding having rocks in play, obviously. And it's going to be a team discussion down at the home end. All 4 players talking about where they want to go.
The 3-time Canadian champions, reigning Olympians, and 10-time Grand Slam champion, Team Holman, are in the house, sitting over in the players' bench, getting ready to make a run at another provincial title. Last year, they did not play in the playdowns because they had a little thing called the Olympics they had to play on instead.
And actually, an interesting situation with their team now this season. So if they do not come out of the provincials in Ontario, they have another shot at making it to the Scotties Tournament of Hearts by playing in the wild card game. They're guaranteed a spot there. And the reason being for that is they were, as you mentioned, at the Olympics, not able to defend their Canadian championship, and therefore did not get to come back as Team Canada.
If they happen to end up in that wild card game, they will be playing Team Anderson, who lost a very troubling Manitoba final last night after scoring 5 in the second end to go up 5-1. They ended up losing 13-7. They've had an amazing year, though. They've won 4 World Curling Tour events this year, the brand new team.
And all eyes were on that team at the beginning of this season, too. Putting 4 skips together on the same team, see how it happened, and I mean, huge success, as you mentioned.
Yeah, they got out of the gates real fast and have continued on. Here comes a fastball from Dave Mathers.
Going to play the double on the 2 Blue Rocks, and he does. Makes it look easy.
That's exactly what happened last night. Timmy made his second tick shot last night. Dave made actually a triple last night to end the game, and that shot there is going to make it very difficult for Pat to steal. At some point in time, he's going to have to go around the corner. Glenn will peel that corner, and Pat will split the rings, and they're going to hope that Glenn misses the draw against 2 or he hits him rolls out.
So some people may be wondering what they're calling, and because typically when you're trying to steal an end, you're wanting to put the rocks towards the center of the rings and block it up. But Team Ferris knows that Team Howard has that ability, as we just saw demonstrated with Dave Mathers, to make those doubles. So they're actually playing 2 corners in the hopes, and they're keeping them spread out here so that they don't have the chance to double the guards out and effectively end the game.
Simple peel here.
See Tim just running after the rock. Should get a time on his peels at some point this week, Pete.
Yeah, you know what? I've never been one to use the stopwatch, but it'd be interesting to see. What do you think? He throws as hard as anyone in the field, no?
I would say so.
Yeah. What do you throw your peels at, Danielle?
Mine, somewhere between 7.58, 8.
And what would what would guys like?
I'm guessing he's closer to 5.6. That's where he's at there.
Really, eh?
Probably a 6.
That's
like
quick.
It's pretty hard. Say the hardest thrower right now in the game is Jason Gunlinkson, in terms of throwing it hard with fair accuracy.
Yeah, he whips it down there pretty quick, and he's only 5'6" himself, so that's impressive.
It's not always about the height.
Another simple peel here for Scotty Howard. Got some insight from John Thompson. He timed one last night on the triple at 6 seconds flat.
Sounds about right.
It's a very good estimate, Danielle.
Yeah, very impressive. And that's being a bigger change in the sport, too. You always had guys who threw it hard, but I think now guys are focusing more on throwing it even harder in some cases. I mean, using the soft touch when needed, but having a player like David in the lineup who can make those kind of shots is huge.
Yeah, the fitness aspect of the game has really picked up, obviously, from 20 years ago to where we are now. Everyone is extremely fit. They're in the weight room. Allows them to sweep more effectively and generate more speed out of the hack.
And they're going on this rock, trying to bring it to even. Not quite, but Glenn is just interested in the single peel at this point. Could double them off, but that's just his confidence with being able to hit the 4-foot.
So I think, Danielle, we're going to see probably a draw around this guard. Glenn will peel the guard, and he'll have to throw against the loss.
Yep. And that's the biggest thing. And anything can happen. We're talking about Glenn Howard, and he doesn't miss too many, but gotta get yourself in the best possible position to perhaps force that. I mean, anytime you're throwing against the loss it puts a hair of doubt into a skip's mind.
Yeah, or even, you hate to mention it, but a pick. We've seen it happen before at very unfortunate times. It's part of the game. You need to definitely make him throw against 2 here. crucial that they get this buried. It does not have to be in front of the tee line. They just have to make it so Glenn has to peel this corner.
And skip Pat Ferris with his first rock in the 10th end. They're drawing around the corner guard. See, the sweepers are working on this whole way down almost. Really need to drag it. Connor Duhame stepping out to sweep. They are going to get it on. It appears like it still might be open a little bit. It is buried enough that Glenn is going to play I think even the angle here will work out well for them. We can't see it perfectly, but if they can run the yellow into the blue, spill it off, they'll also should spill their shooter, so there would be no rocks in play potentially.
The only thing you have to be careful about here in running the yellow back on the blue, you could run it where you then spill your yellow to the center line, give them a guard that they can draw around. So they have to be careful, make sure that they get rid of the stone they're running back.
And they're sweeping this one. And it's good.
Yeah, it's a good shot.
The thing with this rock being in here now, so Pat has to bury this completely, but if he doesn't, because Glenn's up by a single point, he doesn't need to stick around the rings for it.
Yeah, that was a big shot in order to get rid of that stone. He no longer will be throwing against the loss, according to my math. You can tap me on the shoulder if I'm wrong.
Solid math this morning.
Thank you.
Virtue of that large coffee.
Yeah, you know what? That hit the spot. It's killing me right now, though.
Apparently I needed a little bit of that for my brilliant strategy earlier this end. But it is Pat Ferris with this with his last in the 10th end. And again, they're sweeping it pretty early. It's got more legs than their first one. Need the weight, need it buried.
That's a good spot.
That's
Glenn will just draw.
Up, hit the 8 foot, skip stream. And it will be an in-turn draw to the 8 foot for the win for Glenn Howard.
The rocks are still timing pretty quick, which is a testament to our ice committee this week. The fact that, you know, both teams practice 7 ends, and now these are 10-end games. A lot of time we see 8-end games. These are 10, and the ice is still really holding up. So congratulations to the guys.
Yeah, very impressive.
It's more than just freezing water.
And last rock, 10th end, Team Glenn Howard leading by 1. Needs to hit the 8 foot to pick up the win. And the sweeper's really working this rock right out of the hand. Scott running up to help sweep.
Not there.
And we are not only in bonus coverage here on Title Sports Live, but we are in bonus coverage. And we will have an extra end here on our second feature sheet. Team Howard not too pleased about that. That's not a shot that he will miss quite often. The team just taking a few seconds to take a breath. Teams also have a quick break in between the ends so they can just take a moment to refocus, regroup. But a great effort here by Team Ferris, bringing this to an extra end against Glenn Howard. And while we're in the break here, we'll update you on the current standings. So we have Team McDonald leading the field at 2-0. It will be either Team Ferris or Team Howard, who are both 1-0 right now, joining Team McDonald at the top of the leaderboard. In the middle, we have Team Balsdon, Team Retchless, Team Dow, and Team Team Thomas and Team Epping, all with 1 win and 1 loss. And there's always got to be someone on the bottom, and this week so far it's been Team Durrell and Team Bice at 0-2. It's a bit of a rough start, but it is a full round robin here at the Recharge with Milk Ontario Men's Provincial Tankard. So they will be able to have many more games out here. They have 9 round robin games. There are 10 team field. Should also mention that the women are playing at the same venue at the same time, and they will be throwing their pre-competition practice following this draw. And with that, they will be on later tonight, and they have an 8-team field led by favorites Team Homan out of Ottawa. Back to our bonus coverage we have of the draw number 2, Team Howard, Team Ferris. Team Ferris putting up a huge fight here. If you're just joining our coverage, Team Howard had an open draw to the 8-foot for the win, but came up short of the rings, and it is going to extras. So Team Ferris putting up the guard. Then we have Tim March being asked for the tick. They're working on it, but it's looking pretty close. Sweep to curl now. They're going across the face, and it is good. They have essentially 2 corner guards out there now.
Yeah, they did a good job getting that one across, getting the rock off of the center line. Very surprising miss there by Glenn Howard in the last end.
So now this is shaping up similarly to what we just saw. And they will put another center line guard up. This is lead for Team Ferris is Xander Elms. They're working it to get it over the hog line and into good position. Just herring that yellow rock, and it is good. Nice positioning. So tick number 2 from Team Howard lead, Tim March. And the tick shot here it's been huge in the past few years of curling, especially made popular by the one and only Lisa Weagle.
The Weagle, that's what they call it. It's cost Lisa numerous All-Star awards probably because they play the tick shot so much that it hurts her percentage, but I don't think she cares about that too much. She'd rather just continue to collect trophies and medals like she is.
And speaking of nicely played tick shots, well done, ×2 for Tim March.
That was a great end by Tim. Opens up, especially the out-turn draw is open. The in-turn draw is a little bit blocked by that high guard, but very good situation for Team Howard. They'll be able to blast away now.
Another guard being asked. They are on it. Oh, a come around being asked, sorry, and they're on and off this one. Nice looking line. Like to keep this above the tee. And they will.
See, I like Scott's call here. Glenn was going to go up and peel the one that's covering the rock, but they're thinking of running the yellow into the blue, and it can accomplish a few things. One, if you hit it super high, you might peel into those 2 guards. Ideally, you'd like to peel it back onto shot stone. And probably most importantly, now you're opening up that in-turn draw, and that's the key. I mean, he just missed last end, but you don't want to bank on that happening again. If you give Glenn an open draw, I like his chances of making. This is an excellent call here by Scotty.
And here comes the heat from David Mathers. There are no sweeping yet.
Wow. Super thin.
Just feathered it. Well, with that weight, you can practically hit almost nothing of the stone and still remove it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can see the women starting to warm up, come into the building again, that pre-competition practice.
The reason that the women have not started yet and the men have already played 2 draws is pretty simple. There's 10 men's teams in the field and 8 ladies teams in the field. The men will qualify 4 for the playoffs, and the ladies, we will have a semifinal and a final.
And no sweeping yet on this rock.
They have to be careful here. Like, this is not curling enough, in my opinion. And Dave, he might be able to take on a double here. They're actually going to try to sweep it now.
Just a little hot, and you're not seeing that same curl if you throw it a little bit harder. So double even, is there a triple there even possibly?
Double for sure.
Hard to tell from the angle, but in either case, there's a good possibility of getting rid of a lot of granite.
Doesn't need to hit it a whole lot thicker than the last one, but a little bit.
Again, David Mather's in the hack. Sweep, oh, on off. Looking close. And
we touched them all.
Touched them all, didn't leave, but still great shot. Again, it's all, as you mentioned, Pete, it's about opening up that side. You know, Glenn's not going to miss a second draw. So you don't want to leave him with that opportunity. But, and that's why we're seeing Team Ferris talk about putting the guard up in the center. Oh, quick debate here.
Now, while they're talking here, Danielle, how much do you feel, now this is the only game out here, and it's now been the only game out here for at least 15 minutes, maybe even 20. How much will the ice change? Like, do you think that was a factor in Glenn missing the last end? Because the ice, it could slow down a little bit.
Absolutely, and that's nothing the ice makers can control because you've got people constantly coming in and out of the building, and when it does get a little colder, less people in the building, it definitely tightens up. And especially Glenn's team, they hadn't seen a draw in a little while because they were busy peeling things out. And there were ticks being thrown on Tim, so they truly didn't get a sense of draw times yet. So it can definitely influence what's happening there.
Scott's going to take on this long angle double here. See, he doesn't throw it nearly as hard as Dave.
Still good amount.
Ooh.
And that.
It's okay. Didn't stop on the center line. I mean, Glenn, it's going to make no difference whether he draws against 1 here or draws against 4. At the end of the day, he needs to make it, so.
He's not going to be happy with that, but like you mentioned, not the end of the world. Cleaning up the middle guard. Connor Duhame being asked for a center line guard. Yeah, it's been Team Ferris who's had all the practice with the draws so far, so they're well aware of the ice speed. Their sweepers are going on this rock whole way.
It's another one that's way out there.
That's the other thing, too. They just got her over. Well, and a big applause from the crowd for that sweep.
Glenn's looking at maybe ignoring that and playing the shot rock that's in the 4-foot.
Well, it is so high that it's more of a visual distraction rather than an actual issue.
Yeah, and the outturn draw, because of Scott's last one, has now been opened up, so they don't have to worry about that because that rock does block the in-turn draw. But as we know, last end Glenn threw the in-turn, so if he was to play the outturn this end, he should know that path. They're going to play shot rock here.
Well, because essentially where that rock ended up is a corner guard too, so if they can get ahead and he's indicating a flop too, that would just keep things again towards the outside of the sheet.
Yeah, I'd like to be shot rock here for sure. It'll force Ferris at some point in time to make a play on it.
He got the hit and roll right out of the rings. So it will be Team Ferris. They're currently, well, now they're calling in an official's timeout because one of the players hit the rock up there. They just nudged it back into place. All good. Well, nope, they're still talking about it just to see exactly where it is. So we mentioned there are 2 timeouts during the regular play. Each team also has 1 60-second timeout during the extra end. And then there are also these things called official timeouts where they can call a timeout if there's a rock tapped or whatnot. But after that official's timeout, we're now seeing a timeout called by Team Ferris.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out the best spot to put this stone. I mean, it's they're in a good situation that they already lie 1. I don't think they want to come into the rings here yet and lie 2. Probably force Glenn to throw 1 more peel.
And they were talking about
what you might see out of Glenn if they did throw. They've got to throw this guard that it's threatening enough that Glenn has to pay attention to it. If they're just to lob this around, say, the outturned corner, Glenn will just draw down to shot rock, and now he's in a very good situation. So
it looks like they are calling that guard after a team discussion. And the timeouts, even though if a team has a coach, they can bring them into play, or a 5th or alternate on the bench. Or in the case of Pat, they don't have a team coach, and therefore they just stop the time, essentially.
Yeah, Team Howard does not have a coach here either. They were coached at the Briar a couple years ago by Wayne Madaw. Team Epping has a coach here this week, Rock Bottom, Jimmy Wilson. One of the great nicknames in curling. We'll touch upon that when we cover Team Epping.
And here we go with first rock for Pat Ferris in the extra end. Calling for the guard. Sweepers working this one. Looks like their line is pretty good.
So high, though. That's
well,
actually a pretty fortunate tick, I think.
And I think that's why they were sweeping it out there. It looked like it could have got by, but they were actually playing that sweeping call for there. Tough to see from our line, but as you mentioned, pretty good result there. And Team Howard has the hammer this end.
He's thinking about drawing.
It's kind of one of those situations that if he makes it really good right now, he may not have to throw his last.
I think that's, yeah, I mean, that's a mentality I used to use a lot when I was young. And then I started to talk to some of the more experienced players. And, you know, you think about what's the worst case he's going to have if he just peels this. Probably if he draws anywhere in the 4-foot, he wins the game. I mean, he's not afraid to throw his last. I think the peel is definitely the shot here.
Agreed. I think the only thing that came into play and the reason why they were debating it here too is because Glenn had only thrown that one draw on the last end, and it was a little heavy, recognizing that the conditions might have changed slightly with the length of the game. And as you mentioned, Pete, they've been the only sheet out here, and now it's been at least 20, 25 minutes that they've been the only sheet out here.
Yeah, it's always a little uncomfortable when you're coming off a miss like that.
But this peel out will mean that Team Ferris sits the one on the side 8.
Where would you put this one if you're a Ferris?
Well, you could put it, I would say where he is tapping right now would be almost most ideal, because if you're putting it just biting the top 8, then that leaves Team Howard to negotiate that rock Though there's something to be said. It depends, and we weren't watching this whole game, so we're not sure of the paths that they've thrown, but essentially you're trying to make Glenn throw a path he hasn't really thrown yet during the game.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to do because, as we know, he threw the in-turn last end, so he's got that out-turn coming back. I like what you just said as well, to throw this on the center line, because just visually it makes it look tighter, where if you draw, they could draw to the edge of the 4-foot. It would leave him the same shot in terms of what he needs to hit. But visually now the whole rings are open. The whole 4-foot's wide open for you. Yeah. Tougher job on the sweepers here. If they oversweep it at all, Glenn will just play the open hit. So they need to put this rock in the right spot.
And I actually like where Pat's planning on putting it, which is just to the on the board side of the center line, which, because of where the other corner guards are in play, make it much more difficult for Glenn's last. As you mentioned, big shot, Pat Ferris drawing for 2 on his last to sit 2. This is all coming down to the sweepers. No deeper than just biting top 8. But it looks like it has some legs. Needs to stop in time, and it does. Yeah. Actually, you know what? That might be just the most perfect. You're right. That's exactly as deep as they could go, no further.
Yeah, that's a perfect shot. Glenn is now forced to draw away from the 4-foot. He's going to play towards the wing. He did throw this draw 2 ends ago when he was playing a freeze. So he knows the path, he knows the speed. It's just a matter of whether it's changed that much in the last couple of ends. He can come to the backing, I believe, for shot rock.
This is a shot for the win for Team Howard. All tied up, of course, in our extra end of bonus coverage.
Good news is the game's going to finish after this stone, Daniel. One way or the other.
Last shot from Skip Glenn Howard. Calling back 8. Here's their sweeping for line. Calling back 8. Can use that backing.
Looks pretty good.
Gonna sweep it in, and that is good for the win. Team Howard, Glenn Howard coming up with a big shot for the extra end victory over Team Ferris. And that concludes our bonus coverage of Draw 2 of the Recharge with Milk Men's Ontario Tankard. Please tune in at 4 p.m. this afternoon, where we will be featuring Team Ferris again versus Team John Epping. Until then, on behalf of myself, Danielle Inglis, my co-commentator, Pete Stetsky, and the entire TSL crew, we wish you a wonderful morning.
Why is curling such a passion for Canadian farmers? We think we know. In farming and curling, the idea is the same. It's about friends and family, teamwork, using the right tools, and getting it done under pressure. That's why New Holland and Pioneer Hybrid are proud to support Curling Canada, helping to grow the game we love. From your team at New Holland and Pioneer Hybrid, here's to success in the field and fun in the rink.
Every day you go new places. A small change in how you do things, or moving your things to a whole new town, or many things to many towns, all at once. No matter how small the move, it can be a big leap from where you are now. You've got it in you to go new places. So do we. We go there every day. We're here to help you move to places on the map, in the mind, in the heart, or all three.
Go new places with AMJ Campbell. Contact us at 888-AMJ-MOVE or amjcampbell.com.
I believe hard work and honest sweat are the building blocks of a person's character.
I believe farming nurtures the close family ties that make life rich in ways money can't buy.
I believe that true happiness comes from watching your crops ripen in the field, your children grow tall in the sun, your whole family feel the pride that springs from their shared experience.
I believe in farming because it makes all this possible. Long before the snow begins to melt, planning for the seeding season is underway. Start seeding off strong by using the right drill for the job. New Holland's P2082 disc drill precisely and consistently places seed and fertilizer for rapid nutrient uptake, and it does it all in one pass. Experience equal and even emergence through the innovation of New Holland. To learn more, visit your local New Holland dealer.